his sights further afield, the young Hop Sing boys start to draw heat from law enforcement. Over in Oakland, police arrest a number of gang members after a series of extortion attempts on local shops and businesses.
A large group of mostly Chinese youth going around Oakland, Chinatown, looking for the owners of businesses down there and telling them that they're Hop Sing and they're collecting protection money.
But it's impossible to get the victims to come forward and testify.
The threat was real. They're so scared. Making identification and testifying in court was something that no one was willing to do.
The Oakland police can't bring a case without witnesses. They need more evidence and place the Hop Sing gang members under surveillance. Working together with the FBI and the San Francisco police, they soon trace the gang back to a rented safe house on 47th Avenue in San Francisco's Sunset District.
The house on 47th Avenue became a focus of ours. Regular residential area. It was more or less an area where you wouldn't think that a gang hideout would be planted.
A background check on the rented house reveals the owner is none other than Peter Chong. The police obtain a warrant to search the property.
We went into the house and we had identified home invasion, robbery, paraphernalias, masks, machetes, ropes, duct tape. Also, we have recovered bulletproof vests, one with Peter Chong's name on it.
But that's not all. The search team finds evidence supporting their suspicion that Chow's gang has been dealing drugs.
Piece of luggage empty, but it was locked. We had the drug detection dog came in, and he hit on that right away. Although it was empty, it's obviously at some point there's some drugs placed in that luggage.
There's no direct evidence that Peter Chong is involved with the gangs. But after the police raid, Chong's property is a liability.
That was Peter's house. He realized that that is time, too many people know about his house. He needs to change that house.
Chong orders one of Chow's leading soldiers, Chol Su Lee, to burn the house down.
Peter had promised Chao Lee, to $30,000 for that.
September 21st, 1991. Chol Su Lee and an accomplice make their move. But Chol Su Lee forgets to switch off the pilot light. It causes an explosion that prematurely sets the house ablaze.
Now that we see the phone call, the house got bombed, and they all lit up on fire.
Chol Su Lee suffers burns on 90% of his body.
The medical technicians at SFGA said that the flesh was dripping off of his bones, and they were surprised that he lived.
I had people drive me back right away, and what we call the damage control.
But the damage is done. 3 months later, Lee wakes up from his coma to find he's in big trouble with the cops. Disabled, penniless, and alone, Lee has no option but to cooperate with the feds. San Francisco, December 1991. The Wo Hop To Triad now dominates San Francisco's Asian underworld. The FBI targets the suspected ringleader Peter Chong and his enforcer Raymond Chow. The Fed's primary concern, that the Triads are moving beyond San Francisco's borders.
I think the Wo Hop To's overall ambition here was to gain a network to spread their influence out to the United States.
Injured arsonist Chol Su Lee agrees to testify that Chong ordered the destruction of the gang's safe house. FBI investigators could immediately arrest both Chong and Chow, but they want more. In an effort to uncover a wider conspiracy by the Wo Hop To, the FBI applies to the courts for a wiretap. But the high-profile shootings in Chinatown have also sparked interest from the political establishment. While the FBI wiretap is awaiting approval, incredibly, Peter Chong and Raymond Chow are called to testify at a series of Senate committee hearings in Washington, D.C. Chong remains tight-lipped.
How are you employed?
Take my Fifth Amendment privilege.
It puts the FBI wiretap in jeopardy.
As soon as they came back, everybody's looking over their shoulder. They're wondering who's watching us, what's going on. We were at the nation's capital talking about what we're doing.
Early 1992. Special agents Kingman Wong and Iggy Chin activate the wiretap. With the wiretap operation in business, it quickly begins yielding results. It appears that Raymond Chow is procuring guns for the Wo Hop To from a source far outside San Francisco.
There was always a heavy influence of the Hop Sing Tong in Portland, Oregon. There were gang members that were aligned with Raymond Chow in that area.
The son of a Portland gun store owner has been supplying Chow with weapons.
The son was taking guns out of the back of the store, destroying the serial numbers, and then selling them to Raymond and having them driven down here by courier.
By crossing state lines, Chow is committing more serious federal offenses. But he continues to use Tong connections to spread the Wo Hop To's influence.
Every drug you can distribute. Any business, you got a big network. San Francisco, Los Angeles, New York, Boston, Portland, Seattle, Canada. You already had all that network covered.
When the feds pick up conversations between Chow and a known drug trafficker from Boston called Wayne Kwong, they know they are onto something big. Not only have the Wo Hop To committed federal crimes, but drug conspiracies are also chargeable under racketeering laws and hold severe penalties. It seems Kwong is expecting a large shipment of China white heroin, a rare commodity in San Francisco. But there's a catch. The drugs are being smuggled into New Jersey, on the East Coast.
The drugs were going to be delivered in Atlantic City area. We could tell that it was a very, very large shipment, probably in the hundreds of units of heroin.
Kwong relies on Raymond Chow for his extensive manpower and distribution contacts. It's a make-or-break deal for all concerned. If Chow can pull it off, he stands to make a huge sum of money. If the FBI can catch Chow and link the drugs to Peter Chong, they'll have serious racketeering charges against the Wo Hop To. The outcome for both sides now hangs in the balance. But neither side is ready for what happens next. Spring 1992. Wo Hop To leader Raymond Chow arranges to meet some high-level drug traffickers in New York. Chow brings a special sample of heroin given to him by drug dealer Wayne Kwong. The FBI is on his tail, but Chow has a trick up his sleeve to avoid detection.
I look in the newspaper, I find a Chinese whorehouse, and I just go up there and make an appointment. Well, I have some good time, but the most important thing, I just go up there using their phone to call my people.
But Chow's meeting doesn't go according to plan. He is promised highly potent China white heroin, but the buyers reject the sample on grounds of poor quality. Chow calls Kwong and demands a better sample. The FBI records the conversation. Chow uses the term girls as code for heroin. Chow dispatches Hop Sing gang member Tony Young to fly to Atlantic City, collect the new sample, and bring it to New York. Young is a street soldier who rarely steps out of Chinatown. He doesn't speak much English. May 20th, 1992. FBI agents follow Young to the airport, but incredibly, are not provided with cell phones.
We didn't have cell phones back then. We had pagers at best. And we were trying to maintain communications with the FBI agent that was with him.
As he checks the flights to Atlantic City, Young's poor command of English becomes a problem.
They get on the plane, and we don't hear from the FBI agent for days. And he finally calls back, says, yeah, we wound up in Atlanta, Georgia, not Atlantic City.
By the time the courier finally arrives in Atlantic City, the FBI operation is in disarray.
When the individual showed up at the airport, the airline, instead of contacting the FBI, contacted the local police. And the local police, not being aware of the investigations, promptly arrested the drug carrier.
Tony Young is caught with 4 ounces of heroin. By the time the FBI arrives, it's too late. The cops have arrested Young, and the surveillance operation is blown. It's a huge setback for the FBI. When Kwong hears of the arrest, he immediately calls Raymond Chow. He uses aeroplane as code for the deal, and the doctors are cops. Wayne Kwong and Raymond Chow are frantic. The drugs are in a warehouse near New York, ready for distribution. But only Kwong knows the exact location. When Kwong realizes the game is up, he takes immediate steps to cover his tracks.
We understand that the drugs were immediately relocated to other locations, which we were not able to determine.
May 30th, 1992. With the case against the Wo Hop To falling apart, FBI investigators cut their losses and arrest Raymond Chow. 2 days later, Wayne Kwong is picked up in Boston. The pair's alleged boss, Peter Chong, decides it's time to head back to Hong Kong. When federal officers search Peter Chong's house, it's virtually empty. The FBI's San Francisco office now finds itself struggling to make the case. Then, a call from Boston. Wayne Kwong has turned state's evidence. In return for witness protection, he'll testify that he conspired with Raymond Chow to import and sell illegal drugs. Defense attorney Alan Kaplan believes the FBI acted out of desperation.
Kwong very early on realized that if he cooperated, instead of doing 20, 30 years in jail, plus he could basically walk away from the whole thing if he gave them the story that they wanted to hear.
With Peter Chong out of the country, Raymond Chow is the first to face a jury. In 1993, he is sentenced to 23 years in jail for gun trafficking and fights 48 additional counts of racketeering. Over the next 8 years, the U.S. Attorney's repeated requests to extradite Chong are refused by the British in Hong Kong. Due to a lack of evidence, Chong defends himself in the American news media.
I came to America just like the other immigrants to give my kids better educations and better freestyle life.
But in July 1997, everything changes. Hong Kong returns to Chinese rule, and Peter Chong is arrested and handed over to the U.S. authorities. By 2000, Raymond Chow feels he owes Peter Chong nothing.
Peter, long time ago, already, dropped everything, dropped the ball. And no way I'm gonna get out of prison.
Raymond Shrimp Boy Chow turns the situation to his advantage. He testifies against Chong in return for both his freedom and the right to remain in the United States. After serving just 8 years, Chow is released. Peter Chong is found guilty of 11 counts of racketeering, sentenced to 15 years and 8 months. However, his role as the mastermind behind a nationwide triad network is unproven. The judge throws out the numerous drug charges for lack of evidence. Other serious charges are also overturned on appeal. By 2005, Chong's only remaining convictions are for extortion and for the arson on the safe house. On July 27, 2008, After serving 8 years in jail,